dealing with the traditions of men. Everyone has to deal with the traditions of men. The traditions of men are not always conducive to the will of God or the traditions that were set forth over 2,000 years ago. No, over 2,000 years ago, there was no Methodist. There was no Baptist. There was no Church of Christ, so to speak, like we have today. There was no Assembly of God like we have today. There was no Roman Catholic Church with a pope and a bunch of priests. They were not there. None of them. Now, in today's world, in 2018, we have not only those that I just mentioned, but a multitude of others. Now, let me just, name a couple of more. We have the Jehovah's Witness. That's what we have today. We have the Mormons. That's what we have today. We have, and as I mentioned, the Roman Catholics. That's with the Pope and the priest. We have that today. There's also a Seventh-day Adventist. We have that today. And I don't know how many hundreds of other names that people have come up with to take people into an illusion, I'm going to call it. Because if you are not in, what you should be in, if I'm not in what I'm supposed to be in, I have an illusion. And illusions are not good. And delusions are not good. And these traditions that we have today are not good. I mean, Jesus dealt with the traditions of his day. And as I can tell when I read in the history book, that's the Bible, that's what traditionalists and traditionally is called the Word of God, which it's only the Word of God to you because somebody has told you and you have believed it's the Word of God, because it's not. But it's believed to be, so therefore it is. That's how that works. But we're going to look today at the traditions that were when Jesus preached. You find that when you read Matthew, Mark, and Luke. He is going to deal with, you can find scribes, you can find Pharisees, and you can find Sadducees, and in one place it's mentioned lawyers in the Bible that I have. So you've got lawyers, and you've got scribes, and you've got Sadducees, and you got Pharisees. And Jesus had told them what had happened. They had conveniently set aside something and come up with their own. Well, I would like to say that we have conveniently set aside something, and we have come up with something, though it's not our own. Somebody already got it and gave it to us. And that's why when you tell somebody the Bible is a history book, and in the Bible you have history, and it's very good history. I mean, it's got names, it's got years, it's got where they were, what they were doing. It's very good history. And nothing has been put together as to what is called Bible in years. Because a group of people are going to do certain things. And the things that they're not going to do, the thing that they won't do, is be led by the Spirit of God. And if you will read the Bible, you can do certain things if you don't listen to certain people explain things to you. But the scribes and the Pharisees, the Sadducees and the lawyers, Jesus was not impressed with them. And the disciples who went out from Jerusalem after they had received the promise from the Father had to deal with the religious things that were of that day. Now, if they were those four, or three, or just two religious things to deal with, that would be fine. But today, we have thousands of them. And until people do what Jesus said do, I guess you will continue to have thousands of them. And Jesus did give us certain instructions that we could follow, as did Peter and mainly Paul, if you read what is called the New Testament. I don't have a problem with Old Testament and New Testament. I have a problem when somebody comes up and saying, this is the Word of God. Let's just go with Old Testament and New Testament. And we will say these are the words by whoever is speaking. It's in the Old Testament. You got Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Isaiah, and some more prophets. In the New Testament, you only have to keep up with just a few people. And who's speaking? They will be Jesus. For a short period of time, John. And we're going to have Peter doing some speaking. And we'll have a man named Paul, who had been Saul until he had been struck blind and had a meeting with Jesus. That's what we have to deal with. Now, to learn to be a disciple, you must have the right teaching. And folks, we are living in a day when we have had everything that sounded right but wasn't right. Please seek to know the truth and understand that you can read and understand the Bible without having somebody, give you every word and explain it to you. Thank you for listening.